All right, we decided to come back for a little bit of the Dave and Jimmy show. So we just picked up his R1. So, what did we learn?
Not to ride uphill on shitty tires into the trailer.
Well, that came, we almost had a little oopsie. That came after. So what we found is, do your research. So, all right, we get there. Nice enough little part of a historic town, way the fuck up in South Carolina. And, but the guy's whole front porch was full of hippie stuff and pottery.
Pottery, yeah.
Weird pottery.
Wind chimes.
Very nice guy. His girlfriend, Laura, I think her name was. I don't know. She seemed nice. They were very friendly. The house inside looked like Hoarder Central. I mean, tools and just stuff everywhere. It was like I was walking through, again, some kind of hoarding or like a flea market in the house. So anyway, the bike you were looking at, 2015 R1 Raven Edition, just means black.
With red.
With
shit.
red accents.
Yeah.
Only 2,700 miles, which is low miles for an 8-year-old bike. But he wanted $12,000 for it. And it sounded like, low miles, like, oh, it's mint. Then we get there, and it's not helping that it's raining and the weather is complete shit. But he keeps the bike outside.
Under a cover.
It has a cover on it, but it's still been outside for the last couple years. 3 years. So I'm looking at this thing. The seat, something was obviously chewing on it. And we're like, the tires are nearly bald. It has a nice tailor-made exhaust, but he never had it tuned for it, so it's running really lean. The gas in the motor, or in the tank, was the last time he rode it was like, what, 2 years ago? It's been a minute. It's been a while.
It's a long time.
So he starts it up, and it runs, but it's idling rough and
Shuts
stalls.
off a couple times.
I'm just looking at this thing. If it were my money, I would have thanked him for his time and went the frick home. And so Jimmy and I are talking about it, and I know Jimmy's hot to trot to get a bike. My advice was I wouldn't pay more than $10 for it. I don't think there's anything structurally wrong with the bike, but it's not been cared. It's like the first thing you have to do. He's like, you got to get tires on it. And he's like, oh, I got a brand new set of tires here, never installed. Pirelli, he said Rosso 3s. I'm like, well, okay, let me see them. Well, it turns out they're original Rossos, which is not a bad tire. It's an old tire, but the tire was manufactured in the 10th week of 2014. They're 9 years old. They're almost a decade old. I'm like, yeah, we're not interested in those. He's like, really? You don't want to take them just for free? I'm like, no, I would never put a 9-year-old tire on my bike. And he was like, well, on Cycle World, they did a test on old tires and that whole myth. I'm like, yes, you might find a tire if it's been in the right temperature and hasn't dried out or been exposed to like excessive heat or humidity. Yeah, and some tires might be better than others, but I'm like, I would not put a 9-year-old tire on my bike. You're just asking to end up on your head. That's how Joe had his first bike, and little 600. It's like, oh, the tires got plenty of tread. I'm like, dude, those tires are the original tires. They're like 12 years old, which is not that much older than these tires. I'm like, I would not. Well, I don't want to just spend all my money on the bike. I don't want to spend money on tires. I'm like, all right, let's go over to Cycle Gear and price out tires. We get over there, and unfortunately, they're closed. And as we're heading home, we're in my subdivision. So we're only going 15, 20 miles an hour, and there was a roundabout circle in my old subdivision. And he just leans it into the turn, and the front loses the front. Dry, sunny, summer day. But the tires were hard as a rock, and they were slick because they were old. Didn't matter how much tread you got. Shit tire's a shit tire. So anyway. So I was like, yeah, we're not interested in that. So my advice was not to take it for more than 10. But Jimmy really wants the bike. And apparently finding R1s out there in good condition and stuff aren't a ton of them out there. So ended up settling on 10.5. So you did save $1,500, which will pay for new tires, all new fluids, brake fluid, coolant, He's already got a couple brand new K&N washable air filters. He can just drop that in. You got to get oil. Let's say oil, coolant, brake fluid, tires, brake pads. So he's got some extra money to spend. We're going to pressure wash it. We're going to go over everything. Because it was all wet and stuff, it was like we couldn't really tell, like check brake seals, wheel bearings. I mean, wheel bearings shouldn't be a problem with that low miles on it. But you're going to have to go get another seat because that one's kind of shot and something took some bites out of it, so mice or something, which means I would want to know, definitely change the air filter.
Oh, yeah.
Because you may find something living in that airbox, which could be contributing to it running so well.
It's a dead mouse that's...
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see a mouse shoot out the tailpipe.
Yeah, yeah.
But so we're heading up to Chris Moore's right now to get the ECU flashed on my bike and his. And, when you're buying used bikes from people, I would say be careful. I know a lot of people buy used bikes and they buy used cars and, they're kind of fine. I'm just kind of picky. I mean, when you're buying from someone who doesn't know a lot about them, it makes me question how well it's been maintained. Like, it didn't occur to him to change the fluid or drain the gas tank or, anything like that. I mean, someone's coming to look at the bike and, oh yeah, the gas is probably bad. Well, why didn't you go out to the store? You know what I mean? If you're asking a premium price for a bike, that was not a $12,000 bike. Just as soon as I saw it and heard it was outside, I'm like,
yeah.
The seat's not even mounted properly. It's just sitting there because he lost.
He undid it so that he could plug.
But you're looking at the seat and it's got bites. It's been chewed on. And I'm like...
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. When you start talking to someone, you can very quickly determine if they know what they're doing or not. And he's a nice guy, but he didn't know what he was doing, which means it's probably not been maintained that well. It doesn't mean there's anything inherently wrong with it, but it definitely, between tires and a seat and everything else, you're going to have to put $600 or $700 into it, right? A set of tires is $450 these days.
Yeah.
And then you throw in oil, a couple things of good brake fluid, sets of brake pads. An OEM seat might be $200 or $300 unless you find a used one.
You got to get one of those, the oil thingies, the bolt, the drain plug with the holes in it so that I can wire it up.
Yeah, it depends. If it sits flush in the oil pan,
it sits flush.
Does it? Okay, then yeah, you need to get one of the aftermarket. I need to order one of those. Actually, let me know when you do. I'll go look at them. I'll go look them up online. Maybe I'll just buy 2 of them because I need one for my MT10 anyway. For the same reason.
There's a site that has them. I'll send it to you. They got like a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, there's like Motovation. There's a couple sites like that.
One that's named after a girl.
A girl?
Yeah.
Oh, then I don't want it. I want to know it's...
It comes with a sandwich.
Does it? Call them up. Can I speak to someone else? A man, perhaps? Someone who knows what they're doing?
He had a good point, though. He told the guy, he's like, well, he looked at me and he's like, you got to trust your bike. It's going to do 180 miles an hour. You just got to trust it. Are you going to trust it?
I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe. Probably.
Not with those tires, and not till it gets tuned. Yeah. Not till we've gone over everything. We've oiled, lubed everything, changed the brake pads, changed the fluid, flushed the coolant, made sure everything looks good, and then go out and run the shit out of it for a little bit. So I would put it on the street at least for a little while, so you can put some miles on. Do you want your test ride to be at the track?
Yes.
You're an idiot.
I could do it around the neighborhood.
You need to get out and get on it. You need to get out and get on it, higher RPMs, bed in the brakes. I would not just go take a bike that's unknown and just go, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then you get out on track at speed and realize, oh, there's a problem.
I have to get insurance on it then. That's the only reason why I'm not.
Oh,
it's like $1,000 a year, $1,200 a year.
Yeah, well, you pay it monthly, so if you just want it for 2 or 3 months, you do that.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't have to. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you these things.
That's a good idea. Rejoice. Oh my God.
What? Rejoice. God loves trans kids. He might. I don't have a problem with trans kids.
I just thought it was weird.
I don't
being
think
on a
kids should be
billboard.
making goddamn choices about
Yeah.
hormone. You tell a kid, you tell your 9-year-old, get ready for school, dude. Get upstairs and just find one freaking pair of matching socks and let's go. And half the time they can't do that. Come down with one white sock, one blue sock.
That's the in thing now.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, but whatever. The point is, I mean, they're talking about kids that are like 7, 8 years old that still believe in Santa. It's like, you don't know the difference between fantasy and reality. You should not be making life-altering decisions about your body that more often than not you're going to regret. Did you know that the trans community has several studies now showing a 42% suicide attempt rate? There is no other demographic or group in America that has a number even in that ballpark.
What is the reasoning?
We don't know. Could be the depression that comes from the disorder of not feeling at home in your own body. I mean, if you already have a certain detachment from reality, it stands to reason that broken process in your brain could cause other issues. But like drug addicts, gay people, white people, straight people, different religion, like nobody else has an attempted suicide rate of nearly 50%. It's unheard of. So there's clearly something going on. We only got back on the trans because there was a billboard that says God loves trans kids. And maybe God, if there's a God, maybe he does. I don't know. If there is a God, you have to assume that he made them, because I don't think anybody's decided to be trans for the hell of it. I don't think anybody decides to be gay.
It's the in thing.
Well, it is. I think that
they
does.
push it in schools.
I think that does influence kids. I think you're right. There's some influence that kids who might just be questioning their sexuality or just experimenting, and for social justice reasons, you have people pushing this agenda. Oh, you should do this. This is awesome. Be who you are. There's been several cases recently of kids that transitioned as teenagers, and then they hit 18, 19, 20, and they're like, what have I done?
Yeah.
They're like, I have a double mastectomy. I now.
Oh my God, yeah.
I've changed my voice from all the years of testosterone treatment. I sound like fucking Herman Munster. And it's like, you can't go back. You know, if you're a dude and you neutered yourself and chopped off your wiener, if you're a woman and got a double, I guess a woman could go get breast implants, but you're never gonna look the same. It's like, and that's why I think.
Up.
Yeah. Now, as an adult, if you want to go, just like tattoos, body modification, whatever floats your boat. But even there, you have people like, it's my body. I can, they get head to, like every square inch is covered in tattoos and horns, and then they're like, nobody will hire me. Society is so judgmental. It's like you made yourself look like a lizard person because you wanted attention or you have some sort of mental illness. And then you're sitting down to a job interview at some company, and the interviewer walks in and is like, what is that sitting at my desk? I can't see this face representing my company. I mean, imagine walking into anywhere from a restaurant to an insurance adjuster shows up, scalp, face, eye tattoos, forked tongue like a lizard. Well, you shouldn't judge me. No, it's like you whine about the attention you're getting, but you did that to get it. People do that because they want to shock people. There are some people out there that would rather be freaks and go out of their way to get noticed because in their mind it's better than being ignored, right? It's better to get good, bad attention than no attention. I'm the other way around. I'd just rather be left alone. Let me just do my thing and don't hassle me. But some people crave that attention.
So then I go out to the trailer and I open up the door.
Back on the real story.
And I push the bike right next to the trailer, and Dave gets out, and I'm like, let's just push it in. And he's like, no, let's ride it in.
All right. In my defense, it's going up a fairly steep grade, and I'm like, why would I push this 440 pounds up a hill? The cool thing about motorcycles is they can operate under their own power. You don't have to push them because they can push themselves.
Unless it's an R1 with really, really shitty tires.
That are completely
now I got
wet
black
and muddy.
marks all over my wall of my trailer. It's the
Little bit.
floor. It's just
Little
a
bit.
little bit, but it's fine. It was funny because it just kept spinning and spinning. I'm just, dude, just put it in neutral.
Well, I didn't
Switch
realize
it.
what's happening until the back end started
Yeah.
sliding sideways. And then I was like, why isn't the freaking traction control catching this shit? He's probably got it all turned off. Which, again, leave that shit on.
Yeah, that is weird. You're right.
Dude,
Why was it
the
not
people
like
that are
lighting
most
up?
the people that are most likely to turn off the safety systems in cars and on bikes are typically the people that are least qualified to ride in unrestricted.
I know.
Dude, I see it in the Mustang forum all the time. Oh, make sure when you know, someone says, hey, I just got a new Mustang, Mach 1, blah, blah, blah. It's a 470 horsepower rear-wheel drive car. It's a fast car. And they're like, oh yeah, there's this plug up under the hood. Pull it out, puts it in fun mode. It completely disables ABS. All the safety systems are off. And I'm like, what are you, retarded? Because every other post in that group is, oh, I crashed my car. Do you think it's salvageable? Or I hydroplaned. Yeah, because you're running summer tires that have no water siping. You're running full-on like track tires on the road in the rain in the wintertime. And then you're like, how come I'm sitting sideways in a ditch? Well, because you're an idiot and you don't have the right tool for the job. You know, if you're going to be on the track or up in the mountains on a sunny, hot day and you want to have your Firestone Track Hawk, whatever, you know, barely legal cheater slicks, you know, okay. But when it's 40 degrees out and raining, you're on ice skates. You're all over the frickin' place. And then they turn off the traction systems because they think it makes them faster. Like, oh, it's going to cut power. It's like, yeah, because spinning your tires doesn't make you fast. Just like on a bike, wheelies slow you down. A little power wheelie here and there, but if you're popping wheelies under acceleration on a bike like an R1, you can't just hammer the throttle in first or second and hold it there with control on. You will end up on your back at 80 miles an hour with a bike on top of you.
It will launch.
Yeah, way too much power. These are bikes that are making what MotoGP bikes made not that long ago. And we're selling them to 18, 19-year-old kids and saying, here you go, Johnny. And just assuming that nothing will happen. And most of the time, bad things won't happen because you got ABS, traction control, it knows when you're leaning, it knows the difference between the tire spinning up versus the tire sliding versus the front end coming up. And it can take into account all that shit. These companies spend millions of dollars designing bikes and paying world-class test riders and pulling data from World Superbike and Moto America and MotoGP teams and taking all that data and crunching it in the computers to come up with these systems. And then you got some idiot that's been riding for 2 years going, I don't need that nanny crap. Okay.
I was always the guy that said I would turn all the electronics off on a bike like that and ride it. Then I got a bike like that and I never turned it off.
No,
No,
it's idiotic.
it's scary.
I can turn the traction control off on my Speed Twin because it only makes 100-ish horsepower.
Right.
And so if I just wanted to do little wheelies without it cutting in and shutting the party down, because I'm not going to loop. I mean, you could, but that bike's easy to contain. But I wouldn't ride a ZX14 or an R1 like that. You're asking to kill yourself or wad up your new bike. But everybody thinks they know better, and almost nobody does.
Oh boy.
There are very few people around that can really ride an R1 fast with the electronics off. It's just, you're just asking for trouble. Most people are average. That's all they are. Yeah.
Average.
Everybody thinks they're not average. They think, I'm a good driver. But if everybody's a good driver, I mean, average means just that, average. Some are going to suck, some few will be exceptional, and most people are going to be somewhere in the middle. And if you're going to ride a frickin' tuned R1 with the electronics off at any kind of speed, man, you better know what you're doing. And most just don't. They either drive it like a pussy.
So, let me ask you something. You might know this. What is the difference between tuning an R1 on it with its ECU than tuning it with a power commander?
Excellent question, Jimmy. Let me explain it to you and the audience. So, all right. A power commander is a piggyback system. You unplug the injectors or the ignition coils or both, depending on what modules you're using. And so the ECU sends the signal to the injectors of how much fuel to squirt, given RPM, throttle input, whatever else is going on. You unplug the injector signal, plug it into the power commander, so it has to go through the power commander and then to the coil. So what it does is it intercepts that signal, and then it can modify it. It can make it more or less fuel. So it intercepts the signal and then adds or subtracts to it, and then sends that signal to the injector to give it the right amount of fuel. That's all the power commander can do if you're just doing fuel tuning. If you have ride-by-wire restrictions, timing advance, other torque limiters, things like that, it can't get rid of that. So a lot of the gains that are made in motorcycles today, you can gain 10, 12 horsepower on a bone stock bike with stock exhaust, stock everything, without changing the fuel at all. How do you do that? Ride-by-wire. The old throttles had a cable. Remember, you had to adjust the cable to get the slack out? There's a physical cable, and when you turn the cable, if you had the tank off and the airbox open, you could see the throttle body plates opening relative to how much throttle you twisted. Now there is no cable. There's no cable. You have an electronic rotary switch, like a dimmer switch on your wall. You twist it however much, it reads the voltage to say, okay, Jimmy, because it knows you, Jimmy, it knows Jimmy twisted it 98%. Well, based on whether you're in rain mode versus road versus sport, based on what gear you're in, based on the RPM, you may have snapped it to 91%, but we're only going to give you 61. That's what happens now. So what they do is, whether it be for emissions, sound, getting it through regulations, you may give the throttle 100% and you're holding it wide open. And the ECU says, I'm going to ease it on slow. You're not even going to get 100% opening of those throttle plates until 9,000 RPMs. And then at 10.5, I'm going to shut it back down to 70%. And that just neuters and castrates your top end power.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's no way, yeah, because it's like I'm asking for 100, but it's only giving me 71. And that's how my Speed Twin, you can gain 5 horsepower on the Speed Twin with a stock exhaust and air filter and no modifications other than going in and putting hundreds in the column where there's 70s. That's it, and then send it to the ECU. So when I twist it to 100, open it and give me 100%, not 71%. So what happens on some of these bikes is R1, the ZX-10R is hugely restricted. But by opening, when you say, good, give me that throttle opening, whatever I ask for, give it to me, and don't shut down until red line. Keep it wide open. So your torque, if you're looking at this, and this may be backwards, but I'll try to do it, I'll do it backwards. So you start out with your horsepower, and as your revs climb, your power goes up, and then it peaks, and then it goes roar for like 1,500 RPMs. Like red line, it doesn't go up to red line and then stop. It goes up and then down to red line. And that's because it peaks, and then they shut those throttle bodies, and the power goes down.
Yeah, that makes sense now.
So when they keep it open, which is what Chris Moore does and what I do with Triumphs, you're giving it goes up, and then it keeps going up to red line. So the difference between there and red line might be 8-10 horsepower, which you'll feel. But when you're at red line, it's 10 horsepower more than peak. But before, because it went down from peak, you might be up 50 horsepower. There, on the ZX-10R at red line, he picked up 90 horsepower.
On what?
On a ZX-10R, 90. Because it went up to 172, now it goes to 184, but the old bike went to 172 and then to 90 or something. And he has it now going up to 190 or whatever. So the difference is, it's not just the peak difference, it's under the curve, because the old one used to go down from peak for that extra 1,500 RPMs. Well, now it's still climbing, so the difference is now down here. It's a massive, I mean, huge difference. And on track, or if you're drag racing, you would totally notice that. Like, that's a huge, huge difference. You can't do that with the Power Commander. The ECU controls that. The Power Commander just intercepts a fuel signal and adds or subtracts fuel. It can't change how your throttle is applied, and the throttle plate's open. It doesn't have control of any of that. Does that answer your question? Does it make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I hope this audio comes out decent because there's so much rain noise from the windshield. We'll find out if this was all for naught.
All for naught. But then we finally got it locked in, and then I backed out. Hurt my truck a little.
Oh yeah, you did take off a little bit of your air dam.
But
I kept telling you straighten your wheel because you were riding up a hump on their lawn, and then as soon as you turned and came off of it, I was like, his front bumper is going to hit into the grass and rip back. I was like, straighten your wheel, straighten your wheel.
But that's easy to fix, right?
Yeah, I would just take it off.
I know, I'm just going to fix it.
Dude, it's a 2-inch tall piece of plastic. It doesn't need to be there.
All right, we'll take it off, and then we'll see what it looks like.
It'll look better.
And then we'll put it back on.
No, it'll look better. Dude, you have a 4x4 truck, and the front end practically hits the curb. You don't need the front.
I got street tires, man.
Look, Donna just asked me to please take it off of her truck. She's like, why do I have a Z71 off-road truck and the front end is that low to the ground? I'm like, it's just a piece of plastic. It just unscrews. In fact, in your owner's manual, it says if you plan to go off-road, you need to remove that so you don't damage it. It's meant to come off. They know that. Don't argue with me, James.
Okay, we'll take it off.
All right. Another episode of Dave's Garage.
2-minute episode.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Dude, you just get the cordless screw gun, and I just go pop it off. I just threw Donna's in the trash the other day. Aww. Actually, I could have given you hers. Hers is busted, but I threw it out.
Mine's busted?
It's bent.
Oh.
I think it pulled one of the screws out. You don't need it, honestly. That's the first mod I do on that truck, is I take that shit off. Ugh. It has no reason for being there. Yeah.
15 minutes. Then we'll be at Chris's.
Yup. So
then
yeah,
we'll take a picture of it.
Yeah, we can take a picture of the wall, and then we'll add that at the end.
Old gas thing.
Yeah, it's at 10.5. I mean, I would have tried to get it for cheaper, but he wasn't going to budge.
Who, the guy or me?
Him. Well.
Yeah, he wasn't going to get 10.
And honestly, if it was me, I would have just walked away and found another bike. But as long as you're happy, you saved a few bucks. Hey.
There's that Aprilia, the one in Fort Lauderdale.
It's not Aprilia, it's Aprilia.
Aprilia.
Sorry, folks.
Ape. The ape.
Jimmy. Where are we going? To Pelham Road?
Haywood Road.
Oh. Yeah, there. Wonder how far we are from
McDonald's?
I think Palmetto State Armory is right there.
What time does it close?
I want to buy a shotgun from them. The only ones who have it in stock. I guess I could just have it shipped to mine. Let's see how long it takes for us to get down at Chris's. Because if we can take it from his house to the highway, that road, I could go in, buy it, throw it in your back seat. Because you can buy long guns out of state. You can't buy handguns out of state. But rifles and shotguns, no problem. We'll see if we have enough time. For the money I saved you, I figure you owe me.
All right. Oh.
Jimmy, that's not a road. It's not a lane.
I'm gonna have to make a parts list. I'm gonna need. I gotta take the mirrors off, so I gotta put those blockers on there. I don't know what they're called.
The what?
You know, you take the mirror off, and you got the little locks that you put on there for the holes.
The block offs?
The block offs.
No. You gotta be a street bike. Just leave the mirrors on.
I mean, for later.
Oh. Yeah, whatever. Sometimes you can just take them off, and they're just two small holes, and you can just get like a black rubber. Well, zip tie it, or just get put the screws back in with like, you can get like a rubber, like so it's flexible a little bit, like a rubber washer kind of thing. You can get block-off plates, but why pay for billet machined aluminum?
Look for some good ones.
Maybe.
So we are almost there.
Haywood.
So we should be done with this, unless you want to talk about anything else with the bike.
No, I mean, the thing is, yeah, I mean, what we learned here is you talk to someone and it sounds like,
Sounds like a good deal.
oh, it sounds like a great deal. It's
Sounds
going to
like a
be
great
this
bike.
mint, low miles, garage kept, going to be awesome. And you get there and he's like, oh, it's out there in the muddy backyard. And
a rat ate the fucking
oh,
seat.
that asshole with the squatted truck.
I know. What is that?
You want to start a GoFundMe for this person who obviously started lifting their truck, and they started with the front and then they ran out of money.
I would have done the back.
Idiots. This is the dumbest thing. I don't know why people are stretching tires. They stretch their tires over a rim that's way too wide for the tire. So the tire's like this. It's just
Weird.
people are idiots.
Are we done?
It's like you.
Oh,
What?
no, I'm in.
No turn on red. Oh, do you want me to turn it off?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you want me to turn it off so you can say what you really think about trans people, or what you did before?
jeez.
Here's what I really
No,
think.
no,
I can't stand
don't.
Dylan Mulvaney. It's okay to say, there's nothing wrong with saying that you don't like Dylan Mulvaney. The guy's a retard. He acts like an ass. He's just, look at me. Shut the fuck up, dude. You're like an idiot.
I'm gonna have to get this video so I can edit it.
No.
Yeah, you gotta make.
I'm
me
going to be doing a
stuff
voiceover.
downloadable.
I'm going to be like, oh.
Just make me sound like this.
We're going to have fun with that. Let's see if we
What is
get
this
Jim
guy
on
doing? Are you one in this lane? I can't read your fucking mind.
I'm going to edit it in such a way that we get Jim on
Jeez.
nightly news.
Oh no! Just make sure it's CNN. Nobody believes that shit.
Yeah, nobody will watch. Then no one will see it. We get on CNN, no one will see it. It's like, oh, 3 people saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Not a big deal. That's damage control I can work with.
Yeah, that's funny. 3 people.
Yeah, that's it. So when you're buying a bike, the guy seemed nice. Oh, I'm pretty sure he was high as fuck. Almost positive he was. He was talking so fast outside. I was like, dude, put your car in auto.
Oh.
That's where you were spinning out in the driveway too.
Oh.
Leave it in auto. It'll just be in rear wheel drive unless, and when it feels that wheel slip, it'll just kick in the front automatically. Yeah, so anyway, make sure you know what you're getting. Go over the bike. It would have been nicer if it had been dry, but we're standing outside and it's pouring rain out because it's not in the garage. So we're just standing there in a muddy, grassy backyard getting rained on. So there's only so much we can really, it's not like I can lay down on the ground and get under there and inspect the fork seals and, you know, start dicking around with it. All we could really do is just kind of give it a quick visual inspection. It seems like it's in okay shape.
Yeah, pretty.
We'll find out once we get fresh gas and a proper tune into it and see, you know, how well it idles and all that stuff. And then we'll do an update. We'll do a Dave's Garage where we're going to go over all the things you should probably do when you buy a used bike from someone who may be nice, but clearly doesn't know that much about bikes, doesn't know how to maintain them, doesn't know that tires go bad, doesn't know that brake fluid. The brake fluid looks like maple syrup. That can't be good. When it gets that dark like that, that's got to go. But luckily that's, you know, what's $30 for 2 bottles of, I'm sorry, it's Joe Biden's in world of inflation, so it's probably $80 worth of brake fluid now.
What is that lady looking at me for?
I don't know. Should cut her off?
I don't think so. What?
Yeah, what?
What?
Roll down. How much? So, Dave and Jimmy show. But we got your bike. We're going to get my ECU flashed. Now it's going to be killing me waiting for my damn exhaust pipe to come in. I ordered it from Leo Vinci USA, or Leo Vince, as Chris says. Chris is a little southern. It's like, we got this Leo Vince pipe, y'all. Like, I'm yelling at my phone. I'm like, Chris, it's Leo Vinci. It's Italian, like Papa John's there. Yeah, so we'll go get that done, and then so I ordered it, and it looks though like it's being shipped out through AF1 Racing, which is in Austin. So hopefully I'll get it relatively quickly.
You see, you think that Taylor's really good? The exhaust that's on
I
there?
think the TaylorMade exhaust is fine, honestly. Yeah, I would have him, we'll talk to him, have him drop a appropriate tune in there and remove the dB killer so you can hear what it sounds like without it. It's going to sound louder. Yeah, I think the TaylorMade's fine. I've seen people with them on GS6Rs and CBR 1000s before. It's just a little, it just sits in, actually, I mean, when you think about it, think of how the Panigale exhaust is now. It's just underneath and it just sort of has two little ports that come out on either side.
Is that only shooting out one side or both sides?
No, it's just shooting out one side.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, so it's just a short little exhaust. It's probably got some kind of curvy tube underneath the bike. But it's all covered up by a nice carbon fiber panel. And all you see is just underneath the bike and a little pipe sticking out. So they seem well made. They're not cheap. So that's the DCAT muffler all in one. I say keep it. Don't spend money on that. Anything else you put isn't going to necessarily perform better. It's not necessarily going to sound any better. It'll probably weigh more. What I like about the TaylorMade, if you crash the bike, there's nothing sticking out to hit the ground. The chances of you destroying that pipe, if you drop the bike on the right-hand side, your muffler's toast, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not on that. It's all tucked up under the motor, so it'd be really hard for, if it drops and slides on that side, I don't think that muffler will even touch.
So it's not going to go pop, 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 pop anymore, like my other one did.
No, any bike will that's wide open without it. Stock bikes, all right, so that's another thing, the popping on D-cell. First of all, proper tune will help with that. Disabling the SAI system will help with that, so it doesn't inject air from the airbox into the exhaust manifold. So you don't get extra air added to any unburned fuel that'll ignite in the exhaust. But even stock bikes do that. You just don't hear it as much because you have a restrictive muffler and a catalytic converters kind of muffling it. Catalytic converters, I could take the muffler off my MT10 and it's not that loud because those cats are they're not restrictive as far as flow and performance, but they do really deaden the sound. So
you said there's a dB killer in there?
Yeah, in the end, the piece you unscrew the screw and it slides out. It's making it breathe through a little hole.
So now I mean, if I do that, then it'll be louder.
Oh yeah.
A lot louder?
It's gonna be loud.
A lot loud.
It's gonna sound like your old bike. It's gonna sound fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, do you have to have it retuned?
No, we're gonna tell him this is the pipe. We're gonna have him take out the dB killer right there. Yeah. Say, hey, let's just yank this out so we can hear how it sounds. Mm-hmm. And do you have a map that'll be good for this? Okay. He's tuned a lot of our ones. I'm sure he will have something that will get you very close to where you need to be.
Wow, you're right. Auto is a lot better.
Yeah, especially in the rain. I mean, if it's hot and sunny out, you don't have to worry about the back tires slipping so much because you got the weight of the trailer pushing down on the tongue as well. But in the rain, always leave it in auto. If you're like starting from a stop on a turn, I've had the back end start to come around. Yeah, so Daniel just picked up an M4 competition pack. He got rid of his truck, I guess. He's going back to a car for a while. 503 horsepower.
Oh, a BMW M4.
Yeah, what'd you think?
You said M4. I was like, and I said the exhaust, and you were like, yeah. And I was like, oh.
No. No, I got the M4 competition series car, which the guys on Top Gear or Grand Tour didn't like it.
What do they know?
They know a lot. That's all they do is cars. They said it didn't ride.
And cocaine and strippers.
No, maybe. So, all right. Well, that was the update. So Jimmy got his bike. We'll do a Dave's Garage episode where he's going to bring the bike over. We're going to pressure wash it. We're going to do all the maintenance, replace everything, and make sure everything's all ready for any upcoming track days. Do the tires first. You can do that at your house because you're closer to Cycle Gear. So get those done. That way we can ride it around the subdivision or something.
I forgot I had that. went over that huge bump, and I was like, oh, I forgot I had a trailer.
Yeah, oops. Had, past tense.
Yeah.
Actually, they can see it back there. Here's another railroad track, just in case you didn't catch that. Oh my God. What are you doing? Oh, the microphone? God damn it, Jimmy. What are you doing? Yeah, it's down there in the water. It's a $300 freaking microphone, you clown. What are you doing? How do you drop that thing?
Oh, you're right. It was in the water.
Yeah.
You didn't put it on.
Yeah. And it's been there for the last half hour, and then you knocked it off.
I didn't knock it off. It just goes.
No. You did something.
I did not do shit.
2 videos now, you've dropped the mic. Actually 3, because you dropped it once earlier today.
Right, I did.
All right, we're almost there, so we'll see you cats later. If we think of something else interesting to talk about, we'll jump back on. If not, auf Wiedersehen. What are you doing? Was that a gerbil? Why do you have a gerb? You know what? Don't tell me.